The Cup Series, the Xfinity Series, and the Truck Series all head to Kansas this weekend. We get you ready from a betting perspective next on the NASCAR Betting Preview Show. What is up, everybody? Welcome to the NASCAR Betting Preview Show. I am so excited for the episode here tonight, and I want to welcome everybody that's filing in on YouTube and also on Twitter or X, as I probably should be used to at this point by saying that. So if you're watching on YouTube, welcome. Make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to everything In Between Media is doing. We just got them over 600 subscribers, so they are killing it. Really excited to have the partnership with them. And, it's going to be a lot of fun. We got the playoffs obviously kicked off here last week with the Cup Series. This week ends the regular season for the Xfinity Series. So, there's going to be a lot of action going into the weekend. So let's do this. Let's go over a few things. But first and foremost, thank you to Atlas Hair. They are our presenting sponsor here this evening. Atlas is an elite line of hairstyling products with cologne fragrances. Look at this. Got this guy right here. So get started today at atlashair.com. Use the promo code NASCAR for 20% off your entire order. Atlashair.com, ATLASHAIR.com. And here we are, round 2 of the playoffs in Kansas for the Cup Series. And, there's so much to go over this weekend. And by now, you probably know the crew. You got Full Tank with Phil, who's not here tonight, unfortunately. His wedding anniversary came up. And so he's taking priority where it should be, with his wife. So hope he's having a good evening. And, we got Mark of the Full Tank, or Mark with the Through the Gears podcast, Laying Coin Pod. Mark, you do so much for so many people. So I got a question for you as I welcome you in here. I know the playoffs here, we got 9 races to go. What's the biggest storyline, in your opinion, heading into Kansas?
Oh, buddy. Well, I'd have to start with the guys that struggled last week. I think Ross Chastain is a gigantic question mark. Where did his speed go? And I'm saying all this from a gambling perspective, not necessarily a fan perspective. Where does, the 24 and the 5, obviously the 5 won last week. Was he the fastest car? Maybe, maybe not. I just think that the question that we have to ask ourselves, and the question that I'm asking heading into the playoffs, or now heading into our second race of the playoffs, is who's gonna be fast and who's gonna be not. I started laughing when I'm thinking about this, because it's like, wow, isn't that what we try to do every week? But yeah, it's just there's big question marks out there, and I'm trying to answer them. And let's rock.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. There are a lot of question marks out there, so it'll be interesting to see what happens. Before I welcome on our guest this evening, I forgot to say a few things. I want to let everybody know, did a live stream this past Saturday, and boy, oh boy, was it a marathon. I really respect those that pull off live streams for numerous hours. I did one for 10 plus hours as we were highlighting the NASCAR Betting Preview Show Discord. It's a premium Discord channel. It is live. If you want to sign up, let me know. Shoot me a DM or shoot me an email at nascarbps@gmail.com. We'll get you all set up going into the weekend. Got tons of handicappers, betting experts, if you will, and numerous industries and markets to really help you the better, and then obviously build the community as a whole. So I'm going to welcome on a very special guest, not somebody that is new to this show, but has been on before and helps out as the main Xfinity handicapper for the NASCAR Betting Preview Show. It's Mike Bachmnan. Mike, I'm super excited to have you back on. Mike, for anybody that doesn't know, is the content editor for NBC Sports, Roto World. Busy time for Mike right now as he's got a lot going on, and so does NBC with fantasy football, obviously NASCAR hitting the playoffs. So just a ton of stuff going on for him, and one of the best upcoming stars in the industry. And just really excited to not only have you on the team, but also have you on tonight. So, Mike, how are you doing?
Derek, Mark, what's going on, fellas? Everybody in the audience. Great to be back with you. It's been a while since I've been on here, but obviously doing the Xfinity show every week, which has been super awesome. You mentioned fantasy football, 10 minutes, and I'm on the clock, man. I am in a live fantasy draft during this as well. So that's going to be a whole another curveball to throw into the night, but should be a lot of fun. Really excited, man. Obviously, second race in the round of 16 for Cup, the Xfinity Series, end of the regular season, a really tight playoff battle there. So obviously being an Xfinity guy, really excited for this race. And man, you mentioned the storylines and just everything that, we have seen from the first race. There's a lot to unpack. Still guys that still have a lot to show and really buckle down here in the playoffs, but a lot of other guys that continue to rake week in and week out and really deserve that attention as we continue to move forward. But really excited to be here. And again, can't thank you guys enough for the opportunity, for allowing me to be a part of the team and doing what we do. So really excited, man.
Yeah, no, absolutely. No, I'm really looking forward to it as well. When I think of everything that we have going on, I just want to touch on the Xfinity stuff here real quick, because I know obviously you highlight that, and I hope you don't mind me pulling the curtain back here a little bit. But it's been a journey, if you will, since having you come on and go over everything, where you were having a lot of, let's say, unfortunate luck when you were building your card and things just weren't going right. But some of the conversations that we had, and you just staying the course. And I think it's very vital to kind of share that, because there's an importance there where, your handicapping process, so many out there that go through it, they build it a certain way, you included, but then being able to stay with the course and not venturing off of it and saying, I'm going to actually go this way with it, and then mixing or messing everything up. So I credit you for that in staying with that. But how has the last, let's say, month and a half been overall from a betting or handicapping perspective, specifically to Xfinity?
Yeah, well, I appreciate that, because it has been a long road. And even for me, when I first jumped on and, had the opportunity to host the Xfinity show, like, I was a young one, still fresh in the business here and kind of learning as we go. So, over the last month, it has been some of the best, honestly, all season. The road courses, man, this year have been where we've seen most profit. Even last week at Darlington, with a couple of little mishaps, we were able to still make profit and do particularly well. I'm really excited for this weekend, being that it's on all Xfinity field. Obviously, you're not getting much of the value that we've been treated with some of these main Xfinity big dogs. And I think the books have finally caught up to Austin Hill, which sucks, because we have capitalized week in and week out on that number 21. But there's still value to be had. And it's been, like you said, a lot of unfortunate luck, a lot of learning and growing. And like you said, just kind of staying par for the course, sticking to the strategy and, being confident about it. So I'm really excited to get into playoff time, keep up the momentum, and put some more winners out there. But, last month has certainly built the confidence, and we're going to hopefully continue to ride it into Kansas this weekend.
Good. No, I'm glad to hear that. And I see so many right now filing in on YouTube. Welcome. If you don't mind, let us know where you're at, where you're from, all that. And we'll get connected with you that way. And make sure you hit that subscribe button. Helps our partners over there at In Between Media out a great ton. So let's do this. Let's dive right into it, because we have a lot of different things to not only go over. I'm very curious to hear what you guys, Mike and Mark, have to say here tonight. So we'll just go over show outline real quick. If you are new to the NASCAR Betting Preview Show, track facts and data from Kansas we'll go over. I want to hear what the guys have to say from head-to-head market, finishing position props, outrights, and then we'll get to you, the listening listener questions exclusively on X, or Twitter as it used to be known as. Going to go over the Hollywood Casino 400, and stages will look like this. First stage will be 85 laps. The second stage is a little shorter, and it'll be 80 laps. Then that final stage, the run to the finish, will be 102 laps. Practice begins on Saturday at 12 Eastern. Cup race will be Sunday at 3 p.m. on NBC, then following right into the Sunday night football coverage. So that'll be a great day of just kind of watching some sports all race or weekend long. Track history and some trends. Found these very interesting. Pulled some of this from Phil of the Full Tank with Phil podcast, but also Eric_race review on Twitter. Highlight that gentleman and what he's been able to do. He gives us all his track trends where I'm pulling some stuff from. So winners have started on the pole 8 times of the 35 races. The winner has started top 5 17 times. That's nearly 50%. The last 7 winners all started inside the top 10. Yoder has won 6 of the last 8 and 3 straight. Kurt Busch, Bubba Wallace, and then, obviously Denny Hamlin got the win in the spring. 10 different winners over the last 12 races in the Cup Series at Kansas. Only repeat winner has been Denny Hamlin. So that boy knows how to get it done. Great comps for you. Obviously, Kansas. We've had a lot of these races here in the next gen era, and Vegas is another really good comp when you're trying to look at some data. Mark, I'm going to start with you here this evening, and I'm very curious to hear where you're leading the people from a head-to-head standpoint. So what's the head-to-head out there that you found, and where are we going with the people on not only YouTube, but Twitter as well?
And X. No.
X.
This is now like the 3rd or 4th week in a row that I'm just like not crazy about the matchup offerings before practice and qualifying. And I wish that I could come on here and give you a sales pitch on why I think one driver is going to beat another driver. But it just has been the case. I haven't felt comfortable doing that. So I do have a matchup that I like to talk about, and I have laid money on it. So that should tell you something about it. And I'm taking Kyle Busch -120 over Ross Chastain. Now, before I start, I've faded Ross Chastain one time, and it didn't work out. He won the race. We're going to talk about it here in a second. I just want that to be widely known before I go into my spiel here. But Kyle Busch, he's boom or bust at Kansas. If you look at the last 10 races, he's got 5 top 5s, an 11th, and 4 finishes outside of the top 26. So 26th or worse. Or he finishes in the top 5 with the 1 standalone 11th. Now, earlier this year at Kansas, in the 8 car, which, by the way, last year at Kansas too, Reddick had the fastest car in the 8 car. I think he wrecked. Ridiculous. Anyway, Kyle finished 35th, but he had a 9th place speed ranking. That's the spring this year, top 10 speed ranking. When it comes to models, Kyle is below Ross in 2 out of the 3 that I religiously look at this week or week to week. Highline Betting and wintherace.info both have Ross ranked higher than Kyle Busch. But our buddy FRCS.pro AccuPredictor has got Kyle Busch the 5th best car and Ross the 14th. So I really think that this bet comes down to, will the one car have speed this week? We got a 50% chance that Kyle Busch is going to be a top 5 car, which I think Kyle Busch is going to be fast this week.
Mm-hmm.
When I can tell you 2 things. I thought Ross Chastain was going to have a rocket last week, and he straight up barely had a 20th place car, had a better finish than he had a car. And like I mentioned earlier, I faded Ross one time. That was at Nashville. I thought he was going to be absolute dog doo-doo, and he goes out and wins the race. And I had heavy fade matchups, blah, blah, blah. I had it. Anything against Ross Chastain, I had it. So I put a little bit of coin on this matchup. I think Kyle Busch is going to be fast. And the question mark here is Ross Chastain going to have the car that he had the last 8 weeks, or is it going to be the car the first half of the first 13 races of the season? So I'm taking Kyle Busch -120 here in hopes that Ross and the one team continue to struggle.
Yeah, it's interesting because, you're touching on here going against Ross Chastain. And Mike, I'm going to kick it over to you. Who are you fading this week in the Cup Series?
Well, in typical fashion, I'm also on the fade Ross Chastain train this weekend. And for all the reasons that Mark laid out, because I am on the same wavelength as you, Mark, in terms of what are we going to get from Chastain? Because you said it. since his win at Nashville, he's only had 2 top 10s. And yeah, like he's had solid finishes to start the season. I mean, last year was 7th in both Kansas races. So he does have, some of the finishes. Jamar Chase, welcome to the squad. He does have some finishes where, he is able, but it's not just Chastain. It's been Trackhouse as a whole. I mean, they've been out to lunch very recently. So I am going with Bubba Wallace minus 125 over Ross Chastain. I've got this on Superbook. Bubba Wallace, man, he's been excellent in the next gen car here at Kansas. 3 starts, finishes of 10th, a win, and 4th. He had 3rd best total speed ranking in that span as well. And I know you mentioned Las Vegas, but Kansas too, I think pretty comparable, as almost like a mini Michigan as well, where Bubba has shown a lot of potential. Runner-up finish there not too long ago. And I think Bubba's going to be a top 5 car this weekend. We know how strong Toyota has been here recently. 2311 has seen victory lane twice with that 23 car, seeing it, last year. So I think minus 25 for what you're getting with Bubba versus Chastain. They're on both sides of the aisle right now. And I'm going to take Bubba here, minus 125 over Chastain. But I like the fade Chastain here.
Okay, so you both are fading Chastain. If you're watching on YouTube, you'll see what everybody's on in the bottom portion where you have a ticker going across, just to let you know what these guys are talking about. And if you're on Twitter or you're on X here, I'm going to make an argument and YouTube for Ross, actually. And I'm curious whether in whatever side of the comments whatever the side of the comments you're on, I'd be curious to hear your opinions as well, because these two already laid it out. This is Ross's best track since joining Trackhouse in the Gen 7 era. It's undoubtable. I mean, it's undebatable, really, because he's got he's started 3rd, 5th, and 11th. Okay, so all really close to that top 10 and inside the top 10 there. He's finished 7th, 7th, and 5th. So you're going against a guy that has a very good track record here. He's got a driver rating of 104.6, 97.1, and 101.2. So he's there. Like Trackhouse, as we know, dating it back to last year, does have speed. The last 10 races going into just prior to Darlington, you can throw them out. Worm says it all the time. You can throw those races out. They're not comparable to anything that happens in the playoffs. But here we are. The playoffs are here. We know Trackhouse has had speed. The one team does not qualify well. And when I'm looking at these qualifying metrics, starting 3rd, 5th, and 11th, last 3, a team that does not qualify well but runs well, and to see their finishes, pretty damn good. Now, he doesn't have the laps led, so it's not like he's dominating any of these, but he is scoring stage finishes, 2nd, 7th, 8th, 10th, and 9th. So 5 of the last 6 stage opportunities, if you even want to go to Chip Ganassi, it's actually 7 of the last 8 he's scored stage points. So my argument there would be, I hear the drivers that you're saying, Mark, you're saying Kyle Busch, and Mike, you're saying Bubba Wallace, and I think they're going to do well this weekend. But I wonder, are we fading the wrong guy here? Any comment there at all? Go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, I just want to say that it is totally plausible. And I kind of wish I said this in my explanation. Like, this feels to me the same as Ross Chastain at Nashville in the way that I feel about him. Because going into Nashville, I don't have my notes up in front of me, but I know for a fact that all signs were leading towards devastation for the one car. And he goes out and has the fastest car. Now, yeah, he's got good finishes and starting positions at Kansas. Sure. So while that is more than he had going into Nashville, that scares me a little bit. But at the same time, I just can't get over literally how bad this team has been the last literally 2 months.
Yeah. Anything from you, Mike? It's okay if not. I know I kind of gave you guys a rebuttal, and I think it's good to talk this out. I do feel like this is obviously a little bit more of a gamble than it is an edge.
Yeah, 100%. And look, it certainly could be valid. We've seen more times than not these drivers exit a slump, and we can't predict it. And for all the reasons, or for all the the arguments that you put out, I think there's a lot of truth to that. It's just me, and in talking about like strategy, right? I am a huge believer in what have you done for me lately.
Sure.
And it's not even that Trackhouse has been competitive. Like, they really have not. Again, Chastain finished 5th last weekend, but Mark said it. He barely had a top 20 car all race, and he just kind of survived. I mean, that could certainly happen here at Kansas again this weekend. But, in terms of, I really believe in Bubba. I really believe him here. And I think that he could certainly have a car to win this weekend as well. So, Chastain, I just don't. I have a hard time coming to terms, despite all of the good that he has done here, and even at Michigan for that matter. I just don't see them putting it. I don't see them putting it together, just flat out.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if he is a top 10 car, but I'm banking on Bubba being a top 5 car in the matchup I put out, and I'm still going to be fading Chastain here. I'm willing to bite the bullet there, man.
I love it. I'm glad that you guys stand behind it so we can have these kind of conversations for people listening on YouTube and X. And one other thing I want to point out from the head-to-head standpoint is I really want to talk about a new market that just came out. And I want to highlight something Phil called out on his podcast. Caesars is doing head-to-head qualifying matchups, believe it or not. So if you live in an available betting state where you're able to get down on some action from a qualifying standpoint, Caesars has qualifying head-to-heads. I'll read these off, not on anything, but just wanted to call these out because they don't have their driver head-to-heads posted yet. But Kevin Harvick versus Brad Kay, Ryan Blaney versus Joey Logano. I should say who's the favorite, right? Keselowski over Harvick, -110. Keselowski -120 to Harvick. Keselowski's the underdog there. Blaney versus Logano. We see this matchup specifically pretty much on race day. Logano is actually the underdog here at -110. William Byron, Christopher Bell, -105. C. Bell, he's the underdog in this matchup. Kyle Larson, Martin Truex. Kyle Larson, the favorite here at -120. And then Tyler Reddick, Kyle Busch, +120 if you want to be a Kyle Busch backer to Tyler Reddick's -150. Anything there? I know I just rattled that off real quick. What do you guys think about group, or what do you think about head-to-head qualifying?
I haven't looked into it a whole lot, to be honest with you. My week has been ridiculous, but you just said Christopher Bell is an underdog, and I immediately went to his starting positions for the year, was going to pull up some dealios. Your boy Christopher Bell has had some significant starting positions, at least 3 or 4 polls this year, if I remember correctly. So, -105. Who did you say? Byron over Byron?
Yeah, -105. So Bell -105 to Byron's -125. Again, these happen September 9th, Saturday, September 9th. So these are exclusive to that date and time. Noon is when everything locks. So and Phil actually called out that specific matchup. I'll have you guys go listen to what he had to say there, but that was one that he pointed out as well. So let's do this. We'll move on here to the next topic at hand, which is the finishing position props. And Mike, I'm going to let you kick this off here. Curious to hear who you are on. What value have you found in this specific market?
Yeah, I am taking Mr. Tyrone Gibberoni, top 10, +160 over at Bet365. Now, look, on paper, the finishes are ugly. I get it. He's 2 for 2 at finishing 34th, so he's got our number there, but does not tell the whole story. Gibbs, 6th in total speed in this race in the spring. He ran top 5, had struggles on pit road, was able to rebound, yet still found his way to wreck. He was 4th in green flag speed, so he was very quick. Again, we talk about the prowess with Toyota and what they've been here. Go back to Michigan, finished 11th. He qualified 3rd in that race. So a lot of really good mojo there. And I think there's value to be had here. We're going to be looking at all of these Toyota guys. We're going to be looking at both Reddick and Bubba. We're going to be looking at Denny, MTJ, obviously Christopher Bell. Ty Gibbs is going to be that one guy who I feel like we kind of sweep under the rug, but I think he can be good enough to come away with a +160 top 10 bet. And, I think that there's value to be had here. So give me Ty Gibbs +160. I got this on Bet365 to finish top 10, and I'll take that.
Yeah, Ty Gibbs is a guy, very curious to see how the next 9 races go for him. I should say 10. Let's include Darlington because he's a guy I'm sure we're going to be talking about a lot going into technically his sophomore year. but really his third year, almost like he was a redshirt freshman when he was doing all those races here last year. So going to be interesting to see. Mark, before I get to you, I know I threw out something earlier on YouTube as we were talking here, and it was, your name and where you're from. I threw that out very jokingly, but the support with that is actually phenomenal. You got Chris, 38, lives in Scottsdale. Chris, thanks for joining the show. Actually, Herb, I want to point this out. So, Herb, thanks for your comment here. Loving the show, love all the individual shows as well. Rye, 44, Philadelphia. Good to always see you, Rye. Appreciate that. Herb, go back to you, 42, up there in the Rhode Island area. It's interesting. Rhode Island is where, Johnny on the Track is from. So good guy on the show here. Seth, can't have a show here without Seth. The owner of In Between Media. He just moved to Lancaster County. Love that. So a lot of good participation there. Thank you guys. Mike, 70 listening in California. This is the radio portion, I feel like, as we're doing this. So Mike, appreciate you. We've got people listening all over the country. So this is good. So Mark, I'm going to give you the opportunity to close out this market. Where are we going from a finishing position prop?
Yeah, Mark Harris, 27, by way of Duval County, Florida.
Duval.
Yeah, there you go, baby. Starting the year off strong this week in Indy. About to whop them. All right, I'll go Blaney for a top 10 plus 110. Another little plus money top tenner like Mike went. Let's start with the models. So he's 5th in Highline's model. He's 6th in the AccuPredictor, frcs.pro. Type that in your search bar, in your search engine. And Win the Race has him 12th, which not that far from a top 10. Okay. And the thing with Ryan Blaney, we kind of talked about it with Ross Chastain, and like Mike said it, the slump and then come out of nowhere, like Ryan Blaney at Charlotte, the Coke 600. He's had tracks this year where he has had truly incredible speed. Like what the 24, the 5 did in the early season, and what the 11 and the 19 are really doing like the second half of this season. He had the best car at Dover. I already mentioned the 600, second best at Gateway, and third best at New Hampshire. Those are all speed rankings. So it's not like the speed is nowhere to be found, because there have been points in the season where I have totally taken a shit all over Ford. I drive a Ford every day, and I have taken a shit all over them. Their speed at certain points have been terrible. But there's also been tracks and races where they have run extremely well and had really fast cars. Blaney, I think, being the best out of the camp. I know Logano, he won a race way early in the season. Was that Vegas maybe, or wherever that was? Anyway, I think Blaney shows up this week. He's high in the models, 5th, and for me, I'll even take a 12th. The only thing better were him to be 9th and win the race.info. Kansas specifically, I got to throw out this stat here.
Okay.
He raced for 4 years with Wood Brothers. Okay. He finished in the top 5 at Kansas 3 times. He has had 2 top 10s since he left Wood Brothers. That is absurd. Okay. Or sorry, 4 races at Kansas, not 4 years, with 4 races at Wood Brothers at Kansas. He had 3 top 5s. He's had 2 top 10s since. So it's been tough sledding for Ryan Blaney at Kansas. But he did, one of the top 10s came last year, and Kansas won in the next gen car. He finished 9th. Earlier this year, he definitely had a top 10 car at Kansas. Won. He finished 12th, but finished top 10 in both stages. And in the last 3 Kansas races combined, Blaney has the 8th best average total speed ranking. And if you parlay that with conventional ovals, he's sitting at 9th for average speed ranking. So essentially what I'm betting on here as a plus money Ryan Blaney, he's either going to they're either going to show up, or we're going to be shit talking him, and that Ford's got no speed in the upcoming weeks. But I think the upside is that Blaney and the Penske camp come to play. It's the playoffs. It's about time they use that speed that they had at tracks earlier in the season, bring it to old Kansas. So did somebody confirm, did Logano win Vegas earlier this year? Am I making that up in my head?
Oh, at Vegas? No. I have it right here. The Vegas winner, since you put me on the spot. was the 24. No, he
Yeah,
dominated.
shocking.
He was great in practice, great in qualifying. Yeah, dominated that. That's where you hit an Austin Cindric top Ford.
Yeah,
So,
thanks to you,
yeah.
buddy.
Well, it was a collective effort, but Al Mirola caused an accident. Okay, now it's coming back to me. The racing brain's coming back. All right, so you're on Blaney, and you said you're on Gibbs. I'm going to give a guy out. I don't get to do this. This is kind of fun. I'm going to give a guy out that is scored a top 10 in 11 of the 20 races he's ran this year. You know what I'm talking about? Mark, Mike, anybody? 11 top 10s in 20 races this year. Chase Elliott. Chase Elliott's been out for, obviously, he was out with injury for a while. He's got 11 top 10s in 20 starts in the 2023 season. Now, you're thinking to yourself, this isn't a guy. There you go. Okay, that is aggressive.
Yo, I was
audience.
hoping that was going to make an appearance. So we are great.
Mark's chest there. So, let me give my reasoning. I'm shopping around some pricing. So if you find something, I found a minus 110. I don't think there's any plus money out there, but if there is, let me know. But let me make a case here for Chase. So yes, he's not in the drivers' championship, but he is in the owners' championship. And, having a good run here at Darlington just last week. And this is a team. This is a champ. Obviously, Larson just went out and won. Darlington, this is still HMS. So a guy that has scored 11 top 10s in 20 starts in 2023, I think Chase Elliott, you can't fade him in any matchups. So might as well join him and give me Chase Elliott. Minus 110, minus 115s are out there. Whatever you can get the best price of him. Give me Chase Elliott top 10 this weekend at Kansas. So let's move into the outright market now. Very curious to hear what you guys have to say. And Mark, I'm going to start with you in this market. So where are we going when it comes to who you're laying a little coin on to win the race?
Yeah, we're going to lay some coin, trademark, copyright, on the team that has won, is it 2 of the last 3? Did I say that correctly?
The team, yes. Manufacturers won 3 times. The team's won twice.
Yeah, and the owner, if you throw the owner in there, then it's a sweep, okay? 3's up for Dale. I'm going Tyler Red Dog Reddick at 10-1. I don't think 10-1 is available anymore. I think it's 9-1 is the best you're going to get. I still like it, okay? We saw old-ass Kurt Busch win in this car. We saw Bubba Wallace, who only has 1 win on a non-drafting track, win in a similar car, maybe the same car. Who knows? And Red Dog's a wheelman. I mentioned it when I was talking about Kyle Busch. Reddick had the best car. I believe it was Kansas 1 last year. I don't think it was Kansas 2. I think it was Kansas 1. Tyler Reddick had a really good car. Was it Kansas 2? I don't remember. It was one of the Kansas races last year. It doesn't matter.
When he was in the
fastest car and he wrecked. Okay. So,
but he was I like
Tyler. Yes, when he was in the 8.
Okay.
Yes. So you take that little tidbit of knowledge. Okay, he was fast in the 8, and the 45 was already fast here. Okay, so I got down at him 10-1. He's 4th in the Highline model, 6th in overall speed ranking at conventional ovals, thanks to iFantasy Race. Shout out Ryan. And, it was Kansas, too. Here you go, dummy. Look at your notes. Had the best overall speed ranking at Kansas, too, last year. So let's look at some Speedway speed rankings this year, okay? 9th at Vegas, 10th at Kansas earlier in the year. So not crazy about an outright bet here. But things start to get a little interesting around the Coke 600. He had a top 3 car there, absolutely. More recently, which there's no comp tracks literally in the last, unless you want to call Michigan, like the Kansas mini Michigan or whatever. There's been no comp tracks since like early June. So recently, Reddick had a 4th speed ranking at Pocono and then 2nd last week at Darlington. I think that if we could maybe make a pass in this car, he could have possibly gotten around around Larson and won the race last week. I totally understand that those 3 tracks that I just named have absolutely zero to do with the Kansas Speedway, ASP, as I always love that picture. As for finishes, this Red Dog guy, time and time again, loves to have the fastest car and wreck, or pit road penalty, or lug nut, or run over a cone, or hit the wall on my own. Like he just figures out a way to just kill himself or get wrecked by somebody else or whatever. So I'm just going to keep betting Tyler Reddick. It's like my addiction to AJ Allmendinger on the road courses. Like Tyler Reddick has a good week and he pops back into my brain. He's like the itch I can't get rid of. So I think Reddick shows up. The real basis of this bet is 23-11 has been really good here. I know Bubba Wallace's name is going to be thrown around a lot. He's at a favorable number. Obviously won the race last year. But I'm gonna go a little deviation, a little tangent, and I'm going Red Dog Reddick 10-1 now 9-1.
Okay, so 10-1 is what you were able to find. 9-1 is currently available. And we've been saying about how well they have done here, Toyota, that is. What about you, Mike? Where are you going in the outright market?
I am going with the guy who has taken the sport by storm. I've been hypnotized. Call me manipulated. But you know what? My wallet's speaking to me, guys. And I'm taking sometimes Christopher Buescher, 16-1 still on DraftKings. He's at 15 on Caesars. He's been jacked up to about 12 elsewhere. So it's a price that the books are getting, they're noticing. And, man, I just cannot get over what he's been able to do over the last 5, however many weeks it's been. I mean, what more can you say about him? Even last week, I mean, honestly, kind of came out of nowhere to be in position to potentially steal that thing at Darlington last week. Worm opened at 25-1. So a lot of, if you were, fortunate enough to get it at that price, I mean, hallelujah, all power to you. But again, what more could you say about him? He's got the best average finish over the last 6 races. And, I know that his recent numbers at this track really don't suggest he's going to come out and wipe the floor. But I want to shout out Cody Zeeb, friend of the show on the NASCAR Gambling Podcast, because I was listening to his show and he made, as an Xfinity guy, he made an incredible comparison to Chris Buescher over the last little bit. And I'll lay it at you why. Deontay Johnson, welcome to the squad. Sorry. So we talk about Chris Buescher. Recently, he has mirrored, in terms of where the books are, a lot of what Austin Hill has been doing. And, these books outside of this weekend, because Austin Hill, from what I've seen, is at plus 450 now. So what they've caught up. But regardless, over the last couple of weeks, Austin Hill has been ridiculously long, has been nowhere near the price that honestly he should be, with just how dominant he's been, right? And I know it's been short-lived here with Buescher, but it is so real. The turnaround that this team has done, it's not even just Buescher, it's Keselowski, it's that whole operation. They have taken the sport and they have run with it. So if Buescher continues to run like this, obviously we're going to see that price get jacked up even more so. But until then, to get it at the price, to know that he opened up at 25-1 is kind of crazy. But to still get him around that 16-1 price range, like I said, best number I've been able to find is still DraftKings at 16. But I just thought that comparison was so it's just so on the money with just how we approach some of these guys, because for Xfinity, the automatic bet this year has been Austin Hill top 5, because it's just been always 2.5, 3-1. And it's just, that it's just boom, you're going to the bank with it. Right. So I kind of view that similarly to how we're attacking Chris Buescher here. And like I said, big believer in what have you done for me lately. Buescher's done everything and anything. And I can see him coming out, and Brad Keselowski as well, coming out here with a chance to win. He's the favorite for top 4, as mentioned by Rye, and at 16-1, I'm willing to take it. I think you keep riding it until the fire gets extinguished, but there's been no signs of it, and I'll take Chris Buescher here, even still at that 16-1 price despite open.
So you think the Busch series is back, is what you're saying here with Buescher? You're back
Busch
in that
series is back, Derek.
Okay, so you're thinking that you mentioned about last 5 races, has an average finish of 4.6 in his last 5. His numbers this year have been phenomenal. When we look at some of the comp tracks, though, Vegas 21st, Kansas 17th, Charlotte 8th, Kansas obviously is coming back here, but that team has gotten significantly better when it comes to speed, really. And if any is indication of what we saw at Michigan, which I believe it is, obviously Truex is going to have a ton to say about that this weekend. Buescher 16-1, 25-1. If you were able to grab that at open, that's a really strong case. Not enough people, I don't think, are talking about Buescher, and week after week he continues to impress. He continues to show up. He's a guy, depending who he's matched up against, and I'd be curious kind of what his matchups look like. You almost can't fade him. Like, he's a guy that you almost now have built enough trust in where he's coming to show. They're showing up. RFK is showing up every single week. So that's good names there. Mark, go ahead.
Derek, I have a question for you, buddy. So, and maybe we can touch on this when we get to the question part, but would you rather bet on the guy like Chris Buescher over the last 5-6 races that has been lights out, or fade the guy like Ross Chastain that hasn't done shit in those 5 to 6 races?
Say that again. Say that one more time.
Would you rather bet on a guy like Chris Buescher that's been lights out the last 5 weeks, or fade a guy like Ross Chastain who's been terrible in the last 5 weeks?
That's a really good question. I'm going to side with the guy that has good comps at a track like this. So I have a little bit more faith. This might not, I don't know. This is my answer. It might not be the right one. But I think, again, when I made all those arguments for Chastain, my backing for a guy like that holds, in my opinion, a little bit more significant value. So it would be Chastain for me. But, I mean, I'm talking about guys that are neck and neck, going to be like in that same position. So good question, Mark. Good question. It made me think about that. Let's do this. Let's move into the last, bring that up again in the listener portion as well, because I think I might be on the minority side of that. I think everybody might be on the Buescher side. So let's move into the last segment. It is the best bet, best value. It's the money segment presented by NASCAR Money. So Mike, I'm going to let you kick this off. Where are we going from a best bet perspective? Can be anywhere you want to go.
Yeah, well, I'm going to go back to the Bubba Wallace well here and take him top 5, 2-1. 2-1 for Bubba Wallace top 5, I think, is a very good bet. Again, he has been that type of a car since the next gen era at Kansas. It has been a great track for him, and he continues to put together good finishes. And again, like the whole thing with Bubba's got talent, right? A lot of the knock on him has been his team, has been some of those mistakes out of his control, right? And we even saw it in his race win, last year, where it wasn't all, it didn't all necessarily go to plan. There was some stuff that happened where Bubba had to, come back and put it together. So, I think he could rebound if stuff gets hairy. But I really like the position that he's in right now, and going to a track where he does have a lot of confidence. When Bubba's confident, he could drive. I know he's a very woe is me type of guy, but when he's confident and this team is on, like they could really do it. So at 2-1 for what you're getting at a driver that's been proven great over the last couple of years, I like it at 2-1 for a top 5. That's on Bet365, by the way. So I like it. 2-1 for top 5 Bubba Wallace, I'll take.
So you like riding that Bubba Wallace hot hand when it comes to a place like this, and obviously calling him out there. Mark, how about you? I'm curious to hear where you go.
I am also going to the top 5 market. I am also going to Bet365. I'm just going to double Bachmann's number, and I'm going to go with the guy that, Derek, you called out, and I'm going with DI9, baby. I'm not going to show you my whole chest again, but I'm taking Chase Elliott for a top 5er at 4-1 on Bet365. Like I kind of said about the matchups, obviously there's a lot more offerings when you give us the entire book to play it with, right? But I was just kind of looking around. I looked at some groups. I looked at, top Ford, top Chevy, top Toyota, looked at some props, just nothing that I really, really loved until I was scrolling the props at Bet365. And Chase Elliott, top 5 at 4-1 is screaming my name. There's books out there that have like plus 250 on this number, which is bonkers. So shout out Bet365. You guys are the best when it comes to props. If you guys listen to our show, Rory, all he does is just talk about Bet365, B365. Anyway, let's talk about Chase Elliott here. So 4-1. I'm not taking Chase Elliott top 5 at 2.5 to 1. Absolutely not happening. But 5-1, 4-1 for a top 5. I'm looking for a little CLV here, a little value, as everybody loves to say. If you look at the models, he's anywhere from like a 7th to like a 17th place car, depending which one you look at. Some track history. Since Phil's not here, I'll just fill in for him. The last 10 races at Kansas, he's finished in the top 5 times, including a win, and he finished 7th in the spring this year. So this isn't like a slamma-jamma, like I got the model here, and I got the speed ranking here, and I got the wins and the here and the there, and the this year. This is strictly just a Chase Elliott, Hendrick Motorsports. I hope he gets the 24 and the 5 set up. He's got some pretty decent results, actual results here at Kansas. And I'm hoping to beat the market with this one. This is, I think this number is more in the 250 range, the 2.5 to 1 range come Sunday morning. So if I get a Hendrick car, Chase Elliott, top 5, 4-1, I'm looking forward to it.
Man, that was a good explanation there. It really helps validate or makes me feel like, okay, that Chase Elliott number at plus money that I was talking about from a plus. What are you laughing at?
No, it sounds like you're like, I don't know. I'm laughing at myself, dude. I don't know. I can't tell if you're being serious. I can't tell if you're like shitting on me.
No, okay. I was just about to explain. It makes me feel so much better now about the top 10 price because there's a lot of plus money numbers out there. Plus 115, 140, obviously kind of been throwing that out, which I know has been bet already. So that kind of validates some of that conversation we had. So very good job. It was a compliment to you until you started laughing like a jackass. So thank you. But let's do this. Let's this was a lot of fun here on the YouTube side of things where we're able to talk everything. We're going to move over exclusively now to X for the listener portion, listener questions. So if you're watching on YouTube, head on over there and for some exclusive conversations. But make sure before we head out here on the YouTube side, make sure you like, subscribe to what In Between Media, this video, so you don't miss anything. We do this every Wednesday. We'll do it from now through the end of Phoenix. So it'll be a lot of fun. So thank you guys for tuning in on the YouTube side. And as we move over to the X side, I'm going to open it up now. Of X, and we'll get you up here to